Hi everybody, it's Mr. DeCrane. I hope you've had a chance to work on these problems and try them out for yourself. Let's go through them together and see how we do. If we're going to sketch a graph of y equals f of x, where f of x is this piecewise defined function, I've really got three different functions I got to graph, but not all of them. Let's graph them in pencil so we can see what it looks like. The first one is y equals 6, which we know is a horizontal line that looks like this. But I don't want that whole line, I just want it where x is less than -5. So I'm going to go to where it's -5. I'm going to put an open circle there for a minute and then draw the graph that way because I want all the parts where where x is less than -5. The second one is y equals the opposite of x plus 3 squared plus 10. Oh, that's a parabola. The vertex is going to be at -310. -310 is going to be right about there and is facing downward, so I've got to face downward. I'm going to plot some points. I know the growth rate on a parabola goes up by 1, 3, 5, 7, down here. And I don't really need to go that far even because I only want it up to -5 and up to 0. So I'm only going to plot these points up to 0, I think, on this guy. And that's going to be down here. So essentially, I want this part of the parabola. So I'm going to graph that in green so we can get another view on that. So that part of the parabola looks like that. And we only want it less than 0. So I'm going to put an open circle on there because I don't want it equal to 0. The last part is y equals the natural log of x for x bigger than 0. Well, I'm hoping you remember that the domain on natural log of x is bigger than 0. So I'm just going to draw that one in as is. I know it's got to go through this point, 0, 1, and the natural log of x is base e. So it's going to be fairly a little bit bigger than y equals x 2 to the x. It's going to look something like that. And I do want that whole graph. So the function is this entire thing. I'm going to highlight it in dark blue from here to there. I don't really need a dot at that joint anymore since they're kind of joined together. I do need that open circle. And then this piece goes down the axis. It's an asymptote and up like this. So that's what the entire graph of y equals f of x looks like. So if we do the other pieces on this, the domain, what x values are I got? If we go to -infinity, off to positive infinity, but remember, it doesn't equal 0 because this is an open circle here and we've got an asymptote. So we can just write x does not equal 0, or we can write it from -infinity to 0 with 0, infinity is another way to do it. The range on this one goes down to -infinity and up to 10. Oh, but wait a minute. This graph, remember, keeps growing and growing and growing, and it's going to be bigger than 10 way out there. So this is really all real numbers. F of 0 does not exist because there's nothing in it doesn't exist. We got that open circle there in the asymptote. We can't get to 0 on the graph. But if we wanted to do f of -1, we'd have to find which formula we want to use. So if x is -1, we'd be using this formula because -1 is between -5 and 0. And so we would do the opposite of -1 plus 3 squared plus 10, which is going to be the opposite of 2 squared is 4 plus 10, which is 6. And indeed, there's the point, -1, 6. And if we want to solve f of x equals 9, we really have three equations we have to look at. The first equation is y equals 6. Wait, I can't make it equal 9 then, so that there's no solution to that one. The second equation would be opposite of x plus 3 squared plus 10 equals 9. So I subtract 1 from both sides. I get x plus 3 squared equal negative that equals -1. So x plus 3 squared equals +1. So x plus 3 equals 1 or -1. So x is, if I subtract 3, I'm going to get -2 or -4. Now here's the thing. -2 and -4 are both in the domain for that chunk. So those are both solutions. And then finally, if we want to do the last piece, that was the second piece, the last piece, I want natural log of x to equal 9. So to undo that, I say x equals e to the ninth, whatever that number is. And e to the ninth is definitely bigger than 0. So there are 3 solutions to this: -2, -4, and e to the ninth. Talk to you on the next one.